hundreds of people have been left destitute after the recent flooding we've seen in and around Gauteng and parts of Johannesburg being heavily affected by the storms, wreaking havoc on infrastructure, several homes and roads being destroyed. Now, today, the City of Johannesburg was giving an update, and present there, listening to it, was our colleague Manqoba Mchunu. Manqoba, what came out of the update?
Well, but Dan, we got a sense of just how bad the floods were in Johannesburg. Mayor Manqoba announcing that figure of the damage that has been caused to infrastructure, close to 300 million rand, but then to be precise, we know that, of course, the roads were damaged. We know homes were also destroyed, but also many people were left destitute as a result of the floods. I think just looking at those figures, but then it gives you a sense of the devastation that happened here in the city. And of course, the city is pushing for a local state of disaster to be declared. They want the provincial as well as national government to consider this, given the fact that they will be able to provide resources if the state of disaster is then declared. They will be able to look at fixing some of the infrastructure that have been damaged, but also looking in terms of other issues when it comes to storm water drainages, which we know is one of the issues that have been raised by communities as far as localized flooding is concerned. But then the mayor saying that they need this sort of intervention in order to be able to start fixing this damage. And of course, they'll also be looking at some of the areas that have been affected. We know that many of them are along the flood line. And so the mayor saying that they are considering moving some of the people. They will be demolishing some of the structures where these residents have built. But take a listen, but then just to the mayor breaking down some of those costs that have been lost by the city.
Ladies and gentlemen, the current damage to infrastructure sits at approximately 300 million rands, and we expect this figure to increase as some areas are still underwater or inaccessible, therefore making it impossible to conduct an accurate and a final assessment. A breakdown of the figures currently is as follows: Joburg Water, 6.7 million rands; Joburg Roads Agency, 115 million rands; Joburg City Parks and Zoo, 15 million rands; City Power, 31 million rands; and Human Settlements, 98 million rands.
It's a lot of work and a lot of money, Manqoba, that the city of Joburg is going to need. Was there any idea given about timelines about when some of these damages are going to be fixed?
Well, not at this point, but then, of course, the city is hoping that they will get that concurrence from the province as well as national government. They do need that concurrence from them to be able to declare a local state of disaster. Of course, we heard from the Minister of Human Settlements, who was also here on the ground visiting some of the areas last week, saying that they're going to be pushing for that state of disaster to be declared. But of course, the biggest concern at this particular point, but then, is the fact that, the rainy season is upon Gauteng. We know that there's still rains that have been predicted for the province. In fact, I think this weekend the weather services saying that there is a possibility of thunderstorms both on Saturday and on Sunday. And even though they haven't issued any warnings at this particular stage, but there's a lot of concern, especially for those who are living along flood-prone areas, who are saying that they fear that they could be affected. The city also not ruling out, the possibility of further damage being caused by this particular rain. So they are hoping, but then, that if at all, that state of disaster is declared, that's how they will be able to fix some of the infrastructure that has been broken. So they're really hoping and pushing on the side of both the province and the national government to try and perhaps speed up the process so that they could be able to then start with the reparation work. We know that mop-up operations are also underway in some of the areas, and this is one of them, but then just behind me, one of the areas that was affected by this flooding. There's still water that you can see here just behind me, just next to this settlement. And of course, they are saying that they are worried, but then should these rains continue, because that means that they will or possibly may face more damages as a result of it.
Manqoba Mchunu, thank you very much for that update this hour about how Johannesburg is planning to deal with the damage to infrastructure, the widespread damage to infrastructure, including roads, that's been caused by the recent heavy flooding.